Chapter 13. A celebratory lunch, the method cures, and the method punishes. The lab staff did their boss proud for getting his PhD. He was a great favourite, and they respected him highly. During the lunch break, the women organised a magnificent spread of cake, cherry jam, and fresh fruits, and everyone drank a teacup of sparkling wine. Kolya, a lab technician, made a heartfelt speech. Two of the women doctors even wiped away a tear as they listened to him. Then someone asked in a completely different key, "But why are they all so self-centered?" "Who?" Everyone turned to look at Dima, the extramural student from the biology faculty who had made the comment. "The patients we're teaching to use the method. Who else?" Dima narrowed his slanting eyes and smoothed his blonde beard. Now, how can you say that?" Svetlana Bubentsova tried to cut him short. She was a born conciliator who always tried to skirt controversy and keep on good terms with everyone over everything. Her face was flaming red from the sparkling wine. "These are our patients. How can you say they're selfish?" "Yes, when they come to us they are ill." Dima suddenly laughed out loud. "When they come to us, they're sometimes at death's door, but they leave us a month later with a new lease of life." "Of course, yes, of course," Dr. Bubentsova nodded, unsure where this was leading. "Dr. Buteyko's method really can bring people back from the grave." She turned to look at Buteyko, and her eyes immediately brimmed with tears. "My dissertation will be about the impact of the method on people with high blood pressure, and I'm going to give some case studies." She shyly took a piece of bread and smoked sausage with her poorly manicured hand. "So, yes, the method helps the patients, but they do nothing to help us." The extramural student drove his point home. "Anyone who thinks otherwise must be blind. The patients have had their doorway blocked up and they're not allowed to hang up their coats. Dr. Buteyko's team are talked down to. And what do the patients do?" Dima noticed Dr. Bubentsova had still not taken a bite of her sandwich. "Nothing. Just one or two little outbursts of, 'If only I could jump this queue to Buteyko,' but otherwise nothing at all." Everyone gave him their undivided attention. Some started to disagree with him. Dr. Buteyko, however, recalled one of his very earliest patients in Novosibirsk, at the time when he and his staff had still been assembling the combine complexator, but already starting some research. A well-known documentary film director from Novosibirsk had heard about Dr. Buteyko's miraculous method by word of mouth and begged him to come and treat his colleague who was in hospital and awaiting final sentencing by Professor Pomeykin. Khodakevich had survived 2 heart attacks by the age of 49, and even Pomeykin's reputation as an omnipotent surgeon, carefully inflated by his acolytes, did not blind him to reality. Death seemed inevitable. Up in the ward, Dr. Buteyko examined the patient. His skin looked slightly yellow from many days of lying in his sickbed. The doctor was in an awkward position. The patient was in an extremely bad state, heaving for breath and looking at him with sunken, sad eyes, exhausted. The doctor could not give a 100% guarantee of a successful outcome, even with the help of the method, but failure would have been a catastrophe twice over. For one thing, Professor Pomeykin would kick up an unholy fuss about Buteyko treating his patient without permission. For another, the method itself would be discredited. Khodakevich was more dead than alive, and wordlessly pleading with him so visibly that the doctor couldn't turn him down. "Raise yourself a little again, please," Buteyko suggested quietly. Moaning weakly, Khodakevich lowered trembling legs to the floor. "I have no right to treat you, since you are Professor Pomeykin's patient," the doctor said, enunciating every word very clearly. Khodakevich wearily slumped back on the wall. "But I could try to help you unofficially, so to speak." Buteyko stopped for a second. "Like now, late in the evening, or sometimes at night."
"Try," Khodakevich whispered. "I beg of you.
I'm often on my own in the ward, or we can find a quiet corner in the corridor. I want to live just a little bit longer." "Well, what the heck?" Dr. Buteyko gave a wave of his hand. "Let's start. First question. Why do you think your heart hurts?" "It's my work on documentary films," Khodakevich responded immediately. "Journalists have the same thing, constant stress and fights. 48's often as old as we get." "You are ill because you breathe too deeply," the doctor interrupted him categorically. "That's the key factor. Once you manage to normalize your breathing, you will live." A deep breathing test gave a very graphic result. "Do you understand now where deep breathing is leading you and how you must reduce it?" Dr. Buteyko bent closer to Khodakevich, who was having difficulty coming round. "Yes, totally. But how do I do that?" Khodakevich had gone blue, and his voice was croaking. "If it works, I will make a film about your technique, so that everyone finds out about it." "It is bound to work." Dr. Buteyko could hear the steps of the duty sister in the corridor. "It is simple to do, but it does require great willpower. The most important thing is to sit comfortably." The doctor moved the only chair closer to the bed. "Sit down here, like this. Unhunch yourself. Your shoulders and your back should be straight, and your legs should be down and slightly back. Place your hands in a relaxed fashion on your knees, and be careful not to cross them." "Why not?" Khodakevich wanted to know. "So that two biofields do not intersect," Buteyko explained cryptically. "Your head. Hold your head straighter so that it forms a straight line with the spine." He placed his palm on the back of the man's head. "And now," Dr. Buteyko sat on the bed in front of Khodakevich, "pull in your stomach. This will help you assume the correct posture. Then let it go and relax as much as you can. Not like that," Dr. Buteyko said sharply. "Don't slump again with your shoulders rounded. Relax completely, but with straight posture." "How can I relax like that?" Khodakevich inquired, tensing up. "It is relaxation through tension," Buteyko hastened to reassure him. "When you pulled in your stomach, you tensed up. When you let it go, you relaxed. And in this posture, relaxed after a normal exhalation of breath, squeeze the tip of your nose with your fingers." When he finally got Khodakevich seated properly, Dr. Buteyko added, "While you do this, you should roll your eyes up as far as they will go and hold your head straight. The moment you feel you want to breathe in, let go of your nose, and I shall make a note of the time." The film director's control pause was absolutely minimal, some 3 seconds. What does that mean?" Khodakevich wanted to know. He had avidly listened to the doctor, evenly counting the seconds. "It means you are breathing like a steam engine," the doctor told him point blank, "and you need to breathe like a human being, without gulping surplus gallons of air. They are bad for you." And that all your technique is about? Holding your nose?" Khodakevich twisted his thin, moist lips into a faint smile. "Only airheads and cretins think so." Dr. Buteyko put him in his place firmly. "The method involves a gradual reduction in the depth of the breathing. Gradual." Dr. Buteyko raised his left palm and spread his fingers. "Sit in this posture every other hour and practice for 10 to 15 minutes. If you practice enough, you'll be able to lengthen your control pause." "Okay, so I'm sitting. Now what?" Khodakevich gazed at the doctor suspiciously. "Now listen to your own breathing," Dr. Buteyko suggested. "Can you hear how you snort? But you should be breathing softly, softly." The doctor got more comfortable on the bed opposite the patient. "We breathe in just a little, a tiny bit. Our exhalation is natural. We breathe so that neither our chest nor our stomach heaves. We breathe just a little. If you're using the method, you'll soon feel a pleasant warm sensation curling through your body." and do everything in a state of maximum relaxation. When we pull in our stomach, we tense up. When we let it go, we relax. Sit like that." I am nice and warm," the patient responded elatedly, having scrupulously carried out all the doctor's instructions. "And my heart suddenly feels good, as if it had been massaged with balsam." "Well, there you go." Buteyko glanced at his watch with concern and rose from the bed. "Try it, but remember that holding your breath is not the cure. It's the method that heals, and measuring the length of a patient's pause is a way of keeping a record of their condition. At the moment your pause is 3 seconds, which is extremely bad." The doctor frowned, despite himself. "You'll feel much better when it is 30 seconds, and when it is 60 seconds, you can walk out of here virtually healthy." The doctor visited the film director more than once, trying to remain out of sight. Khodakevich proved an adept student and produced spectacular results by only their 4th meeting. He even tried giving a jump for joy, although previously he had been afraid of any sudden movements. It was his driving survival instinct that helped him master the method so rapidly. But, alas, this strength came from the patient's enormous ego. Like all major egotists, he clung to his own life with gritted teeth. This was fine for mastering the method, and he burst from Professor Pomekin's grip without any surgery. But when Buteyko reminded him of the documentary film he had promised to make, Khodakevich instantly fell silent. "I'll need to sound out the studio and see what's what," he said vaguely, his eyes wandering to the side. Dr Buteyko was not after personal glory, but he did want an honest documentary that could help thousands of dying people learn about the method. So, overcoming his own inner reluctance, he phoned Khodakevich at home shortly after he left hospital, without waiting for him to get in touch first. Khodakevich was feeling great. With huge satisfaction, he extolled the doctor's technique for controlling his heart problems, but as soon as the conversation turned to the documentary film again, his voice audibly chilled. "You know," he drawled disagreeably down the phone, "there are big problems, very big problems. The editor is afraid of censorship because, after all, the technique has not been very widely trialled. A documentary film requires major financial investment, and who will back it if there might be problems with the release?" "Fine," Dr Buteyko cut him off. "If the money is so complicated, people who support my method will stump up the funds to make a documentary that represents fairly what it does. Everyone who's been saved from death's door will each give a ruble, and if there's an official ban on releasing it, they'll show the film on projectors at home. If we do that, would you film it? You, personally?" Buteyko knew how to pin down the wriggliest worm. Khodakevich was silent for so long that Buteyko wondered if he'd fallen asleep. "Think about it," finally reached him down the receiver in a mutter. "What did you say?" "I need to think it through properly and weigh it up," Khodakevich repeated more intelligibly, for some reason starting to cough. "Money is money. It makes you responsible. I'll give you a ring. I'll definitely get back to you on this." He never rang back, and never came to see the doctor again. By a roundabout route, Dr Buteyko learned that his former patient was fit and well, and living it up with a 20-year-old woman instead of his 50-year-old wife. Yes, the student's sudden question at the office party was spot on. Whatever else they lacked, there was no shortage of selfishness among the patients who had been cured by the method. The worst of it was that this egotism prevented them telling anyone else how to get well. It damaged the people closest to them most, as they also suffered from a range of medical conditions and didn't know how to get rid of them. Strange to say, this "I'm all right, Jack" attitude also damaged those who were concealing the truth. Patients who received significant relief from the method but told no one about it eventually began to forget how to use the method themselves. They would overbreathe, and their previous complaints would return. The brilliant discovery took its revenge on egotists. By its very nature, it seemed to reward altruism. And it was only altruists who achieved consistently amazing results through their use of the method. Khodakevich was no exception. His own health improved radically, but his laborious efforts to conceal the secret of his cure left their trace. Attacks of hyperventilation and heart pains revisited him periodically. His nightmares also returned from time to time. He managed to overcome these incapacitating symptoms through an effort of will, but he could never get rid of them completely. To do that, Khodakevich would have needed to become an altruist, but this was beyond him. The lunch hour came to an end. Congratulating their boss for one last time, the women started clearing the table. The newly fledged PhD rose to his feet and went to the cubbyhole that served as his office. Numerous visitors had already popped their heads round the laboratory door. It was time to get back to work.